Welcome back to Murder Therapy with Doll Talk and Cousin Ashley.
Welcome. Welcome.
Yes. So, yeah, buckle up. I'm excited about this one. I think those of you all that do listen to Murder Therapy, because I do have Doll Talk people that don't listen to Murder Therapy, it doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Some people don't like true crime, and that's totally okay. But a lot of people have been asking me my opinion on the Menendez brothers because they have hit the media. They're in the spotlight right now. TikTok has went fucking mad, and I'm loving it.
It's not even
I'm
TikTok. I
loving
mean,
it.
they're in the light all over everything. I feel like there's so many documentaries coming out.
Yes.
I think also a cool thing to see is their case was so long ago. I mean, they committed the murders in 89 and now we're people the younger generation that are coming into adulthood are already into young adulthood. They're getting eyes on it and we look at things so much differently now, and
Yes,
I love that it's getting a refresh. With
I
a
do
different
too.
point of view.
Well, and I've said it before, and most people on my platform know, and I'm very vocal about it. There is no shame that I am a sexual abuse trauma survivor. I'm very open about my story. Even on my personal Facebook page, I've been very open about it because I feel like if I can take what I went through and just save one person, then everything I've been through has been worth it. And
Yeah.
I have forgave my perpetrator. I've moved on. I've healed way better. And there was a time in my life that I made really shitty choices. I hurt a lot of people and I did made a lot of just really overall bad toxic decisions, but I've moved on from that. So I feel like in a sense maybe because of my trauma, I might feel a little bit biased as far as they are concerned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've because in a sense I can relate. I have to say that my perpetrator wasn't near as sadistic as what Kitty Menendez and Jose Menendez were.
Yeah.
But sexual trauma is sexual trauma, period. So, um, that's why Ashley's going to tell me if maybe I'm being a little too, Jody, you're being a little bit too emotional and wearing your emotions on your sleeves. Because I have to say, working in forensics, I see cases that sometimes I have to shut the file and I'm like, I need to take a breather because it can be triggering. Just because I'm healed doesn't mean I don't have triggers.
Well, triggering to you being a sexually abused victim also, I mean, everybody regardless has different point of views of things like this.
Right.
And
Right.
of course, especially you be living through it yourself have a little bit more sympathy than most in regards to the
Right.
victims. Um, but I okay, I've got to say this episode in Jody, we always try to keep it where Jody's schooling me on cases because everybody knows that
Yes,
the thing is I live under a rock. I love true crime. I just
she
don't have
does.
time to dig into it. So I it was so funny because I told Ryan, he was like, watch your show. I said, I'm doing research. So I love Ryan Murphy.
I
So
do too, even
the
though some
second I
people hate
heard,
him right now.
no, the second I heard, I was like, okay, I gotta watch this. Hooked, could not stop watching it. I think I finished it in a night. And then I jumped into the documentary because the case, it made me feel so torn, but
Hmm.
I definitely lean more one way than the other, and we'll get into that. But I am not coming into this episode without opinions, questions, and comments. So I'm
Right.
prepared.
Yes.
So
And
I'm
me and
ready to
her
get
have
into it.
not discussed. She
No.
did message me. She did tell me ahead of time. She's like, I watched Monsters. And I was like, you did? And she's like, and I was hooked. And she's also watched, when you say the documentary, because there's several out there, okay?
Yeah.
And I've watched a lot of them. Listen. Well, Ashley knows. Oh, I will not just watch one thing. You better believe I have
We'll see
watched
what it was.
everything out there about Eric and Lyle Menendez, just like Ted Bundy. There's about 82,000 different things out there about Ted Bundy. I
So
bet you I've
many.
watched them all. You know, that's just who I am because I like you'll find out that Ryan Murphy did dramatize things. That's what Hollywood does.
Mm-hmm.
There are things in the series, I'm not disagreeing with that are false.
Yeah.
What I will say is I love that he took it as an approach. I feel like he was very unbiased. And I like that. I like that he gave you the free will to take what choice, what theory, I should say, that
Mm-hmm.
you want to go with. And a lot of pro Menendez people, and I'm pro Menendez brothers, you won't hear me say anything otherwise. I will fight for them like people are fighting about politics right now.
Yeah.
Like, I will get red in the face. I get so protective over these two men that I really don't know on a personal level, but in a sense I feel like that they're almost like a part of me, I guess, because we
Mm-hmm.
have that trauma bond in a sense, I guess. And I know what that's like to be on the side of voicing this is what happened to me and people don't believe you, and it's
It's
so
gross.
frustrating.
Because who
It's
are you
very
to say that they're
gross.
lying or they're not? You're not. And we're not going to victim shame. That's just not okay. Like,
Exactly.
it's not.
No.
Um,
No.
because you just never know. You don't know how a person chokes that down. You don't know how they're going to react as it's vomiting, the words are vomiting back up for them to have to tell. They didn't have to just tell a therapist. They had to tell the whole world. Cuz watching these documentaries, I learned it was the beginning of court TV. And they were one of the
Yes.
first on court TV. So this is being watched by everybody across the nation. And you're
Yes.
having to sit up there and just be vulnerable. And, like, I mean, do you openly tell anybody and everybody about even the consensual things that go on behind your bedroom doors as an adult with your spouse? No, you don't. So, I mean, could you
Mm-hmm.
imagine something that against your will that you have to tell everybody? That's horrific. And I
Oh,
will
don't
say,
worry.
I did lean more pro Menendez brothers. My heart ached for them. Do do I think that they should have been punished because, was that worth somebody's life? I'm torn because yes, it's one of those, they were
Don't worry.
minors, and I don't sympathize
Well,
with pedophilia. I don't.
right, right. Okay, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying now. I thought you meant they
But
weren't minors when they did when they
when they
killed
did
their
what they did,
parent.
but I
Right.
mean, we'll get into the nitty-gritty. I don't want to give away details that you're
Oh,
going to
don't
give.
worry. We're going to get into it.
But the length of time that it happened, it minor, with some of it minor to adult, like it
Right.
was insane. And I don't, so either way, Jose was a child molester, and I don't agree with that. So yes, I kind of feel, I don't think it's okay. And my husband stands that he doesn't think any pedophilia or any pedophile deserves to live. He thinks it's the most horrific crime you could possibly commit. So,
Right.
but I'm a little softer than Ryan, and I think it's horrific. So I don't know how I feel. It's still hazy on that, but was their actions okay? No. But did they deserve it? I kind of think that they did. I These
I'm sorry.
boys,
Lucy's like going crazy in the background because they got home, obviously.
her
So,
little rat.
yeah. So, Lucy's my teacup Yorkie. And you would
But
think that Biggie would be the guard dog, and he's not the guard dog.
he's a bad
It's
baby.
Lucy is the guard dog. So,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, Nathan had
Yeah.
to come home so his shadow can make an appearance.
Well, that wasn't his shadow. That
Oh,
was
was that
actually
Colin?
Carson's shadow that
Oh,
just went through. Yeah, that was Carson's shadow. But yeah, but we will. We're going to get into the
yeah.
whole nitty gritty of
But
everything.
that's where I sit.
Um,
I am ready for them to get out. I am excited that it's being revisited by fresh eyes, more sympathetic eyes. Because in the 50s, just seeing how we'll get into it. I'm excited that it's being revisited and that they may get out because I think they deserve to see a little bit of freedom.
I love that. And this
Yeah,
is the first time me and her have spoke about it. I knew
it
that she
is.
watched it. She didn't tell me what her outlook was on it because she knows how I feel about it. So I'm very excited to,
So
yeah.
we're gonna get into
But
it. It's
yes.
trigger warning. Let's put that out
Yeah,
there.
yes,
It's
thank you.
bad. It's so
So
bad.
this is the episode where we are going to be talking about the sexual abuse. There are some graphic parts. There is physical child abuse that's going to be brought up. Um, so just a big trigger warning, and that's what we're really going to be focusing on. But this is about the trial, and the reason that this got put in with the whole trial thing is because none of the abuse allegations had ever been exposed until the trial happened. Because ultimately we learned that Eric wanted to bury that secret. It wasn't even about hiding the fact that they killed the parents. It was in his mind, I don't want all of this sexual abuse to ever be exposed. That's how embarrassed they were about it. Not that they killed their parents. The seed that, rooted all of that is what bothered them the
I mean, the
most.
fact
But
that literally it could have made their defense easier and lessened their charges, and they still didn't
mhm.
want to tell it.
Yeah,
That's
don't worry. We're
yeah.
gonna talk about it.
Oh, I'm
All
ready.
right. So when we left off in the first episode, it was right at there was discussion going on as to whether or not the tapes that shithead Dr. Ozil had was going to be utilized as evidence, which it was. Unfortunately, they went ahead and went with it.
He's such a
Now, the big
skis.
argument, he's awful. He's such
Yeah.
that man had no business taking a position like that. But
Mm-mm.
unfortunately, and I know working in mental health, you have this with police officers, with attorneys, with your mental health people. There's always those one people in those positions that take it as a power thrill because they can make or break your lives. And that's
100%.
scary as fuck. I took this oath in my position, right? Because I genuinely want to help people. I don't agree with the choices that my clients make at all, obviously. I deal with the forensic population, but I genuinely want to help them. It's
Yeah.
not my place to judge them for the choices that they made at
Well, let's
all.
be real. There, and we'll get into it. There's reasons why Jose chose this skeezy ass piece of shit.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we'll get into that. Don't
Yeah.
worry. But so those tapes were admitted into evidence. Now, granted, the boys killed their parents together. It's not a question at this point, did they kill their parents? Because they admitted it. They have audio tapes of them confessing to Dr. Ozil what they've done. It's not about that. It's why. Why would two rich, young, good-looking men kill their parents? Because again, things like that didn't happen in that area. So they were tried together, but two different attorneys, two different juries.
Which I thought
And
was weird that they had, which I get they're different, but it's the same case. I found it weird that they had different attorneys.
well, I get it. In a legal stance, they would.
Yeah.
I
They
think
work
that
together.
even
Why
in
not give them one?
um in a matter of, I guess, if they decided to testify against each other, which obviously they didn't do, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And
I
then
mean, in a legal,
I
uh huh,
thought that the tapes couldn't be used as evidence from what I heard in a documentary. And so this is more like a question I'm asking you. They said that they didn't come until the very end of the full trial. The
right.
end.
They
So
ended up utilizing them,
so
and
what
their attorneys. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so what really got them out there, yes, we did it, wasn't it the letter that they found? I'll be
Which
vague
one?
first. Lyle wrote Eric a letter and he told him to destroy it. And it was basically them confessing and trying to escape.
That was in jail. We'll get into that.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Well,
We'll
because you
tell.
said the
Yeah,
tapes and I was
you're
like,
jumping
oh.
ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, 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 you're good. No, the tapes were admissible for evidence against them, and their attorneys fought tooth and nail. You know, we can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Leslie Abramson, who is a fucking legend and a badass, but
Beast.
they both had incredible attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
But Leslie knew what I feel like most people should know looking at this here. I am being biased. Two kids don't go in full blazing with shotguns for no reason.
Yeah.
This was beyond overkill. And when it's overkill like that, it's very personal. There's a lot of hate against there. Let's be realistic. In my opinion, if money was the motivator, it would have been one shot.
Yeah.
Maybe two, not to the degree that it was. And she involved psychiatrists, psychologists, and it took them 6 to 8 months working with them before they ever even opened up the door to this is how my life was. 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, it was a long time. Family members,
It
like
was.
co-workers, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So Leslie Abramson was Eric's attorney. Jill Lansing was Lyle's attorney. I think it's really important for people to recognize that Leslie Abramson was probably one of the most hated women in the judicial system. Why? Because she gave zero fucks.
Mm-hmm.
And she made it very clear. If you watch the clips of like the actual court hearings, her and the judge argued back and forth. And he was like, Miss Abramson, I will get you for contempt of court. And she's like, okay, go ahead. Have at it. Like, I love her.
No
I love
fucks.
her. Jill was the one, she was very calm. She was very protective. Now, she was savage, and she 100% backed her clients up. But Leslie was their pit bull, and she gave no cares. Now, the judge that was assigned to the case had quite a reputation, and he was assigned into both trials, okay? Um, and Los Angeles had quite the history in this given time of losing high profile cases. So the timing of, Eric and Lyle's things did not benefit them at all.
No.
Just like what you said, this is when court TV had just started.
Mm-hmm.
So the cameras were in there, and so they are literally telling what should have been between a trusted individual as a cry for help that this is what happened to me. The whole world is watching them.
Mm-hmm.
And this ended up turning into way bigger scenarios. Saturday Night Live made skits making fun of them.
It was terrible.
The other celebrities bashed them on late night talk shows on TV. It's really sad,
But that shows you the
And
magnitude of how big this was. It reached
yes,
like
that
yeah.
that many people. And
And let's be
obviously,
real, both of them had very fierce female attorneys. And this was still very much in a time where men were very much threatened by very powerful and starving for power women. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, so this is where when they testified, this is the in the given moment, when Leslie did her opening remarks, she advised that he was that Jose was a sexual sadist, and that the reason for this that they would learn was very harsh abuse scenarios, which we're about to talk about. So Eric um, said that the individual sessions that he had with his dad, his abuse started when he was 6 years old, 6 all the way to 18. That he looked at it as like special time, individual time with his father. He didn't think anything of it because Lyle had been being sexually abused before Eric was.
Yeah.
And Lyle was the one that was really focused on a lot. So I don't know if maybe, Eric might have had some jealousy there. I don't know. I can't speak for that.
He
I'm
starved
not
for
him.
attention from his dad, so whether it
Right.
was good or bad,
But not
he took
knowing, he probably had no realization of really what that was. Now, Jose, the boys testified that their dad would use objects with Vaseline, toothbrushes, and insert them in their rectum. He called this object time, and he would rape them. Lyle took Eric to the woods at one point, and he literally did the same thing. as you know, he reciprocated the same behaviors to his brother. And if you watch the court testimonies, he breaks down bawling,
I know.
telling the court this, and apologizes to Eric. But and you can't be mad at him because he's doing what an abused child does. They're reenacting those events because they don't know any better.
Well, they think it's normal because at that point in time,
They
you're
think
so
that's
little,
normal.
you don't realize that it's abuse.
Right. Now, Jose, of course, would tell the boys, we don't talk about this because this is our special secret. That's what he called it, their special secret. This is what dads do with their kids. This is our special secret.
Mm.
I know, it's disgusting.
It's sickening.
Um, Now, they had 51 witnesses that came and tested. 51 witnesses.
Insane.
A
Yeah.
huge portion of that was family. And Eric said, I didn't remember half those people that came and testified. And it's like, wow, who is that? That's, what cousin is that? Coming and testifying about Jose and how he acted and how Kitty acted. Two really important ones were cousins that actually came and physically lived in the Menendez household, both for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they both lived there at the same time. I don't know if, I couldn't get clarification on that, but they lived there. One of those was Kitty's nieces, and she adored Kitty, and she looked up to Kitty, and she idolized Kitty. And she talked about she was in the basement, and in her testimony, she said Lyle came downstairs one night. They were children. I don't remember how old, but they were small. And there was an extra bed in this room that she was in. And he said, can I sleep in that bed? And she just looked at him, and he grabbed at his private area and said, my dad keeps touching me here. Can I sleep in that bed? And about that time, Kitty had come downstairs and got Lyle and drug him by his arm up the steps. And when she confronted Kitty about it, she just blew it off.
It's gross.
Like nothing was said at all.
Sickening.
And another cousin went on the record and testified that when Jose would take both of the boys to a room and lock the door, that Kitty said, you are not to go near that door. You are not to be anywhere near that area. You do not disturb them and do not go get them until they come out.
What a mom.
Right? So she knew.
Mom of the year this time goes to
Kitty Menendez. Yes. Now, Jose was described to be relentless, very cruel, cold, and intimidating. And these are coming from people that he worked with. They said in many documentaries, when they got the phone call that they were found shot up, they wasn't surprised. Think about that for a second.
It's terrible.
They were like, one guy said, if I could have thought of 5 people in this world that would be killed like that, Jose was in that top 5. Yeah. Yeah.
And he was involved with watching this documentaries. Like you mentioned a few like celebrities he was involved in music wise. And it's a lot more than you think. Like he was in that industry. And it hit me because what was that? Is it Munando? What was that boy band?
Menendez.
Yeah. I've never heard of them. I'm so sorry. I'm a late 80s baby. So I realized watching that documentary that they were a group of young men under the age of 18. So I'm like, he was very involved with them, but nobody in there came forward. So I'm like, okay, maybe not. But like, was it just his sons?
We'll talk about that here in a minute.
Because that I don't know.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So we're going to talk about tennis for a second because we both know that Eric and Lyle were very active in playing tennis, and they were both really good. Okay. Eric testified that before his tennis matches, and this is what blew my mind away, that his dad would massage him. Okay, that's fine. Like maybe, relax. It's going to be okay. He would massage him all over by the pool when other people were around and no one said anything. No one looked at that like that was
No.
unusual. And he didn't think anything of it because this has been done to him his entire life. But there's people all around while his dad's rubbing him from literally head to toe before tennis matches. Little strange in my, but yeah. Now, there was tennis coaches that testified. One of them almost cried on the stand and said, if I would have known what we know now, I would have saved them. He had no idea. But they said neither of the boys acted spoiled. Neither of them acted cocky. They didn't act egotistical. They were well mannered. They were polite and they worked their ass off on the court
Yeah.
because Jose expected nothing less. And Jose would be present. Granted, he's paying these tennis coaches, right? He's paying them lots of money and he would like interfere. It's like the coach couldn't really coach, but he would like interfere. And one of the coaches actually stood up to him one day and he said, yo, you need to sit down and let me do my job as their coach. And he said, you know nothing and you are fired.
Bye.
Well, and now so let's take a step away from that moment and just think about now that we know what we know, that wasn't a matter of whether or not he was a good coach. It was how can he micromanage to ensure that his secret was never going to be released.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at it. He
100%.
literally did what all perverted perpetrators do. They isolate their victims because they wasn't allowed to go play with other kids. They wasn't allowed to go to other places. I mean, sure, they did get some freedom. A fake ID was brought up that Eric had because he would go to nightclubs. Whoop-de-doo. He did what we've all done as teenagers. He got beer underage or
Yeah.
whatever. But they didn't get that freedom like you and I had where we got to go stay at our best friend's house. Or
Well,
we
he
got to
did
go
this terrible
ride our
thing.
bikes.
He knew it was bad, and
Yeah.
he had to control the secret.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now, their dad would shower with them, both of them, at the same time. And Kitty would know about this. People could be at the house and he would just be like, we're going to go take a shower. And of course, some people thought it was odd, but no one said anything. No one said anything.
that's what blows my mind. Like, how?
Ancient Greece. Jose had a fixation on ancient Greece. And apparently he had possession of history books. And he had highlighted certain passages within these books. And he would reenact these things with his boys, saying that soldiers in ancient Greek times would prepare for battle by having sex with one another. That's
Made you
so
tough.
gross. I'm not exactly that it made them tough. I'm not hating if you're a homosexual.
Yeah.
You do you. It doesn't affect me in any way. But the fact that you are forcing that type of lifestyle on your own children together
Yeah.
is disgusting.
I can't.
Yeah. Now, yeah, it's super fucked
Yeah,
up.
these poor boys. Oh god, I just can't even believe. And it kept going and going.
Now, the one cousin that one of the male cousin, I believe his name's Al Anderson, that lived in the home for a period of time. He said he witnessed when they were in the shower together. He didn't like physically see them, but he knew that they were in the shower. He heard a yell, like a childlike scream, like they were in pain. And he went to, go see what was going on. And Kitty said, told him to stay seated, not to move. Like she would just allow this to happen. The pain training. Do you know about this? Pain training is what he called it.
It's not ringing.
So
a bell.
when Lyle and Eric was younger, Jose introduced pressure points. And he would teach the boys to, like, push on those pressure points. And we all know pressure points hurt. And there was a day that he had Lyle doing it to Eric. And Eric talked a lot about how you could not cry. You was going to get in a lot of trouble if you cried. So he was doing everything he could to hold in that pain and that emotion. So Jose thought that he wasn't being hard enough. So he told Lyle to push harder on this pressure point. And Lyle whispered to his brother, "I'm sorry," and pushed harder. At that point, he broke down crying. Lyle stopped and looked at him and said, "I don't want to do this. I don't want to hurt him anymore." Jose slapped Lyle in the face and said, and I quote, "I did not raise you to feel weak to other people's pain."
Wow.
Let's let that sink in. I did not raise you to feel weak to other people's pain.
Yeah, but he's desensitizing them. It's sickening.
He was creating, he wanted to create sociopath.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about how Jose's mother was big in swimming, so he wanted to teach the boys swimming. Except swimming lessons with him, everything with Jose was sadistic. He took it to extreme levels that was absolutely unnecessary. He would hold them underwater and call it training, training exercises. And he would keep them underwater until the point that they passed out.
Jesus.
Yeah. He would make them swim laps like over and over and over. Lyle, so if you watch the court tapes and you watch Lyle talk about the training exercises with swimming, you can see him, and people that study body language, and psychologists have analyzed in his testimony, you can physically see him have flashbacks and how triggering it is to him and how sick it makes him to even discuss it. That's how bad that was. That he hated swimming. He hated it because of his dad, and that he would intentionally swim into walls to try to get out of the water. Yeah, that's how much he hated doing that with his father.
God,
And again, Jose was always present in all of these trainings and everything. They couldn't be around anybody without him there. Kitty Menendez had been described as an alcoholic, someone that relied on substances, which we know. It was discovered
next Tuesday. Like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, do I think that Kitty had depression? Absolutely. I'm not neglecting that.
Absolutely.
But that's not an excuse for what she did. There's lots of people that have depression that still know right from wrong.
She was what I mean? Like, absorbed by Jose that it was honestly concerning. The fact that, like, and I think our boys believe this too, I don't know that she could live without having him. As well as he cheated on her left and right.
And she knew he did.
Yeah, and she's okay with it.
This is my perspective of it is I think Kitty liked the money. I don't know that she really even loved Jose, to be completely honest. Do I think that her and Jose loved each other at one point? Absolutely. Clearly, they got married. They were married before they had everything that they had.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that at all. But do I think people can not, unfall in love with each other? And I think that she was probably disgusted with the fact that her husband is a sexual sadist. I'm not neglecting that one bit, but she allowed it to happen. Yeah. She didn't do anything. And I think what it boils down to is she liked the money. That's what I think.
She liked the money and she didn't like the boys. So she had no sympathy for the boys. Plain as day.
Kitty's doctor that prescribed her all these antidepressants and anxiety pills and, benzos and all those things that she was actively taking and drinking, which in medical we would strongly advise you not to do, but she did it. He said that she told him, I hate my children. I wish
Yeah.
they were never born. They are such an inconvenience to me. Think about that.
They ruined
There
my
are
life.
moms, they ruined her life. There are moms out here that never wanted to have children, and that's fine. That have children, and it changes their whole life for the better.
They're still
And they'll
good
tell
moms.
people, I didn't, and they are good moms. They'll
Yeah.
tell you, you know what? I didn't want to have kids, but I love my kids, and I would do anything in this world for my kids. I will tell you right now, as a mother, I would kill for my children.
Facts.
Don't play me. Don't play me. Do my kids always come at the times that I planned it? Nope. But I wouldn't give them up for anything in this entire world at all. They didn't ruin my life. They made my life better. They made
Children
my
always
life
have the
complete.
worst timing. Trust and believe. It's not just your
I
kid,
don't
it's
want to
every
talk about
kid.
timing with children right now. I just had a whole freaking thing with
Yeah, your life
basketball. I'm
revolves
not.
around them, as she learned over and over again, especially tonight.
Yes. Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, that's a whole other story for another day. But
Yeah.
anywho, yeah, she went on the record saying, well, she didn't go on the record,
Well,
but
and then there's
she
parents
confided
or
in her
people that can't
doctor.
have kids, and they'd be glad to have
Hmm.
two boys like hers.
I think it was a part of this like whole thing of looking like America's perfect family,
Mm-hmm.
and they were
It was
not.
an image,
If
yeah, for
anything,
sure.
it was an image.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people described Kitty to be fun at times and kind. Eric described his mother as having two personalities: the fun and kind and playful Kitty that he loved, and then when she would get angry and have these fits, she was dangerous. She would throw dishes at her kids.
Yeah.
And she would be fine and all of a sudden go into this freaking meltdown out of nowhere, throwing glass dishes at her children.
It's scary.
One of the cousins that lived in the house discovered her medication cabinet. It was like apparently up above the stove, and he was just being a curious kid. He's like, well, what's in here? And he said that there was just pill bottles everywhere. And when she realized that he seen that, she slammed it and told him not to ever open that cabinet again. And he's like, the way she treated me from then on out was completely different.
That's
Like,
sad.
completely different. Now,
He saw it, now he's judging me.
Kitty would, when the boys were younger, she would lock them in closets for periods of time to make them do their homework. And when it wasn't just you sit in here for an hour, it was beyond hours with no food, no water. They wasn't allowed to leave the room to go to the bathroom. They had Tupperware that they would use.
That's
Yeah,
horrendous.
I know, and one of the brothers, excuse me, one of the cousins, the male cousin, Al, that lived in the home, he was sitting on Lyle's bed one night, and he noticed a Tupperware thing up underneath the bed, and he was like, "What's that?" And he goes to get it, and Lyle's like, "No, no, no, don't touch that, don't mess with that." And he's like, dude, what is this? And he goes, well, I don't want to wake my mom up at night to go to the bathroom. That's how afraid they was of their mother. So he would use the Tupperware at night if he had to go to the bathroom. Lyle, they would also drag them down the hallway by their hair. And Lyle started significant, drastic hair loss in his teen years due to the amount of stress. No teenager should be that stressed.
I was
So he
wondering what
had a
that
toupee.
was.
Yeah, it was because of stress. He was
Wow.
losing his hair because that amount of stress was getting to him. Kitty attempted suicide with overdose. She got sent to the emergency room. The ER doctor at the time was like, I think that she would really benefit from inpatient psychiatric services. I really think that she needs this. And Jose intervened and was like, absolutely not. No.
Wow.
Why wouldn't you want that for your wife?
Yeah. Ugh. Because he's a selfish
Yeah.
piece of shit.
Eric was somewhere between 15 to 16 years old when he found his mother's suicide letters. Like, she had wrote many suicide letters throughout
Nice.
her years. Um, she would even tell them how much she hated them and how much she wished she was never born. And this is just the Cliff Notes version I'm giving of their childhood, just to kind of,
I'm sure
but
you
they
could read
went
the
through
letters.
this
Yeah.
all the time. All the time. And there was times that they had told people, and when Kitty was confronted about this, she would just turn her cheek to the side like nothing had happened. Now, I tell you all this because we're going to go back to right before they ended up killing their parents. So you imagine going through this every fucking day of your life. You're now 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Lyle has left the chicken coop. Okay, he was able to escape. There was a time when Lyle was a child that he confronted Eric and asked Eric if Dad had been doing anything to him, because Lyle knew, and I think that he had denied it.
Yeah.
At this point, there was a conversation, and Eric had testified about this, with his parents about him going to college. And he says it. He said, I thought, great, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to escape and I'm going to get out of it. And at that point, his dad said, this is where you're going to go and you can live here at home. And he's like, but why can't I live in the dorms? All first year students live in the dorms. And he's like, because I said you will live here. And it was in that very moment he knew, he's not going to let me go.
Yeah. Was that Eric or was that
He's
Lyle?
That was Eric, because
Okay.
Lyle had already left.
Yeah, I was gonna say because
Lyle,
Lyle, he went away to an Ivy League college, right?
he did, yes, and he ended up getting expelled because he did plagiarize.
Mm-hmm.
But Lyle was home. Eric talks about he heard arguing out in the hallway. He stepped out there and he seen his mother rip his hair off. And he had no idea, none at all, that Lyle had been wearing a toupee. And I know that might not seem like a big deal to some people, but it was like in that moment, Eric describes it, I seen my brother in one of the most vulnerable states, and they protected each other, and it broke his heart. So when he went to a room to comfort him, and that's when he told him then, this is still happening to me. And I think he did that as a means, not to take the focus off of him, but to let him know it's okay because they're doing things to me too.
I
And
think,
at
and
that,
correct me if I'm wrong, the sexual abuse had stopped for Lyle for a long
it had
time,
stopped
but he was still being
because
treated like
Lyle,
shit.
oh yeah, they were
Yeah.
still abusive as fuck with him, but the sexual abuse had stopped.
Okay.
Lyle's went from 6 to about 12. Eric's went from 6 to 18 years old.
That's mind blowing. Mind blowing that it went until he was 18.
Well, I mean, that's the only life he knew.
Yeah.
So of course, they then ended up, it was a week later, and they talk about how it wasn't just because they were seeking of revenge. That's not what it was. They truly were scared for their fucking lives,
Yeah.
because Jose had threatened them their entire life that if you ever tell, I'll kill you. And he would describe, like, if you run away, this is what I'll do to you. And so they went out, they bought shotguns, and they ended up killing their parents, and it was really sloppy, and it was a very impulsive, in the moment thing. In a sense, I get why they went after them for premeditation. I don't look at it as premeditated. I think it was a moment of, they're going to kill us.
Yeah.
Like, that constant paranoia of, this is going to go further.
Well, Eric finally told Lyle, and Lyle told his dad that it needed to stop. And so in that moment,
and that's what fueled the fire.
Yeah, it definitely poured gas on the fire for sure, because it lit Lyle up knowing it was still happening to Eric. And that was when it switched. We're going to stand up to him. And Lyle did stand up to his dad because he tried to take Eric upstairs, right? In that moment. And he said no and
I
called him out.
don't know if that's what it was. I know that Lyle confronted his dad. That's
So at
what
that
Erica
point,
said.
that's when they felt scared.
If you watch the Eric Tells All
I haven't.
series, you need to. It's a 5-part series.
Okay.
Eric says, and this is his recordings from his prison tapes. He says that Lyle confronted his dad, and his dad came and told him, you know, you told Lyle, and now Lyle's going to tell everybody. And he's like, no, he's not. So it was that fear. What really ignited it, I think, is I don't know if that was the moment that Eric was upset and crying. I don't know what that was, but he went downstairs crying, and his mother was slumped over, slurring, drunk. And she's like, "What's wrong with you?" And he's like, "You wouldn't get it." And she said, you're mistaken. I've known, and I've always known." And he said at that point he viewed his mother just like he viewed his dad.
Yeah.
And that would have to feel so disgusting, knowing that your mother knew this whole time and did nothing to protect you.
Well, and there was indications that Kitty knew to the boys, because I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but there was times where she had concerns that Eric was gay and he had AIDS, because AIDS was still very unknown then, to where she would check him, and she would
Yeah.
physically get close to his penis, check him for what she thought AIDS looked like, and because she was concerned that she would contract AIDS. So she knew
Right.
if she had concerns of getting it from him. And the only way they
Right.
were doing it is through Jose. So it's gross.
Now, in this first trial, all of this that I just gave you was presented and some.
Yeah.
Lots of testimony from witnesses. 51 witnesses is a lot. The jury deliberated and deliberated and deliberated for days. And when they would tell the judge, we cannot reach a verdict, he'd say, try harder. And eventually it was a hung jury.
Wasn't it 2 months? I
Now,
think they deliberated for 2 months.
yes.
It was
I mean, they
long.
went at it.
Yeah.
Now, that meant a whole second trial. The issue with this is, and we have learned even now in current times, I think that Lyle loves attention. I love the boys, don't get me wrong, but he likes attention. And he had been corresponding with this girl, okay? And he told her that he fooled the jury and he could fool them again. Now, she took that and she turned it into the media. And it caused quite a ruckus. And this is when his attorney, Jill, she's like, I can't represent you anymore.
Yeah.
And she had to back away. At this point, all funds that they had was gone, paying these legal fees. Leslie believed in them so much, she represented them the rest of the way pro bono at no cost.
And the hung
That's
jury
how
from
much
the
she
first
loved
trial, it was split between men and women.
It was.
None of the women voted for death penalty.
Well, and Leslie Abramson made a really good point. She said, if my client's name was Erica Menendez, would you think any differently? And you shouldn't, because boys and men have feelings. Boys and men can be abused too.
100%. Yeah.
And she's right. Gender shouldn't make a difference. But unfortunately, it did.
Mm-hmm.
It did. And in the second trial, there was too much of a risk putting Lyle on the stand again. With this girl, shame on her for doing that. I'm not saying what Lyle said was okay, but you got to think, he's loving attention. He's being accepted by people and he's never been accepted by anyone other than his brother. I'm not saying what he did is okay. I'll never condone the fact that they killed, Kitty and Jose. I'll never say that that's okay, because it's not. But people were still taking advantage of them when they were in a really vulnerable state. So it was solely up to Eric. But here's the thing. The O.J. Simpson trial had just happened right before that, and O.J. Simpson was acquitted of murder. Now, that's a whole other case for another day, but it's like, yeah, that's a whole other section for another day. So the prosecutor was fucking thirsty. They were not going to lose this. And I'll be damned if that motherfucking judge didn't say the abuse excuse defense will not be used. Which is really shitty. Who are you to say what they can, use as their defense? They wasn't allowed to have cameras in the courtroom this time. They wasn't allowed to have that many witnesses. I don't know how many witnesses.
On anything in their previous arguments.
They wasn't.
Yeah, it was weird.
No. So at that point, it did look like boys wanting money because they wasn't allowed to bring up anything pertaining to the sexual abuse. They said that they did try to use what we refer to as battered women syndrome, which isn't technically a diagnosis. That's just a legal fancy term for post-traumatic stress disorder. When you have people that don't have mental health training hear battered women, you think, oh my God. So the judge is like, these are boys. You can't use battered women, which is kind of shitty because men can be battered too.
And let's make it clear, at this point, even the first trial before the mistrial, it's not, we're not sitting here and there's not a jury to decide if they're guilty or not. We know they're guilty. They admitted it. There's proof that they admitted it. This is strictly to find out death penalty or manslaughter. Like, that's what's on the line here.
Yeah. Well, and they were on, their lives were at stake.
Mm-hmm. This is their punishment that's on the line.
Now, jurors have spoke up. They've came forward from this second trial, and they're like, again, there were people in there who looked at this like homosexual activity and that this was all for money. And they did end up finding them guilty of first-degree murder. And at that point, it was death penalty or life without parole. And I have to applaud the jury for this, that they were like, with everything that we knew, and the judge even told them, I know you know things, you need to go in there pretending you don't. Shame on him for doing that. That forms a completely biased opinion.
Oh, everybody.
He nevertheless was super influential. He was nevertheless telling them, this is what I want from you, without saying, this is what I want from you. 100%.
Yeah.
But they said they couldn't put them to death. So the sentence was life without the chance of parole. 2 consecutive life sentences. And then the attorneys were trying to fight to keep them together. And what did they turn around and do? They sent them to 2 completely different prisons and separated them for 22 years of their life.
That hurt my heart so bad.
I know. Lyle talks about when they were finally reunited, because they were. Thank God. Ugh. Right? And the prosecutor was like, I couldn't find a reason to keep them away from each other anymore. And it's like, fuck you. Like, I mean, what were they going to do? What were they going to do? I know that they plotted escapes in jail, but they were being
they couldn't exchange letters like you did before. They just put them in different cell blocks where they couldn't see each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they were reunited in 2018 in the same facility, and Lyle says the moment that he saw Eric, he literally burst into tears. Aww. Because that's all they have now is each other. I mean, they do have family that comes and sees them. Now, I want to say, Eric and Lyle have done everything they can to make a huge impact in the outside as much as they can, even on the inside. Eric is married to a woman named Tammy. Lyle was married and then got divorced because he couldn't quit writing women. It's the truth.
I had no idea they even got married. Ugh.
They did. I don't know if Lyle is. I don't think Lyle's remarried.
I remember he could be. But I didn't know they got married. Okay.
Tammy is Eric's wife. They started writing each other when he was on his first trial.
Could you imagine?
And they've been married since. Exactly. She's never had sex with him. Yeah. They've never consummated their marriage. They are able to kiss when she leaves. They're able to hold hands. And she describes the holding hands like the best feeling in the
I mean,
world
good for her
because
to
that's
stand
the
by
only
his side.
intimacy that they know.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And she talks about how much she believed him. She did have a child outside from a previous marriage, and in Eric's eyes, that's his daughter.
Oh,
And she
well,
calls him dad.
he's very
And
sensitive and
that's
he's
all he
super
ever
sweet.
wanted. He is.
Yeah.
Eric is the more sensitive one. Again, Lyle is divorced. It's not funny, but I like both of them equally. I
Yeah,
do.
Lyle came
But
across kind of douchey, but I think it was a facade to cover up
it
what all
is.
he went through.
Well, this will melt your heart. Lyle has got his college degree while in prison.
Good
He
for him.
graduated. There is a video, and I'm going to get teary-eyed because in that video, we know that he graduated thinking, I'm going to die in here. This is my
It
life.
sucks.
And when he gets his diploma, he claps for himself because he never had anybody clap for him. Think about that for a second.
Jody, you're gonna make me cry. That's
I
sad.
know,
That's
like,
really sad. But you say that, and
and
now everything's getting brought back
he
up.
and he yes, everything's getting brought back up. In that video, his friend also graduated, and he's just so excited for everybody, and you can see how genuine they really are. And he
Oh.
pats his friend on the back. He's so happy. And in that moment, I'm going to die in here. This is my life, and I'm making the best of it that I possibly can.
Yeah.
He's started groups in prison for sexually abuse survivors. He had his family make a Facebook page for people in the outside people like me.
Wow.
If you've been through what I've been through, come, this is a free space. Let's talk about it. They've made huge impact. And I bring all this to like all you people that's hating on Ryan Murphy.
I love it.
Ryan Murphy, I love Ryan Murphy. And people hate the series, and it's fine. You don't have to like it. But this has opened up the doors because on top of the TikTok nation, and TikTok's big for this, they've been recognized. The new generation discovered them, and they're like, what the fuck? Why did they not get to testify what happened to them in this second trial? They weren't given a fair trial. They know in today's time that would never fly. And then you've got Gypsy Rose Blanchard walking the streets, and she was asked, what do you think about the Menendez brothers? And she's like, well, I don't really know that case. And I'm like, you're supposed to be an activist for abuse, and you don't know the first case ever in history to come across as two abused kids?
I know.
You don't know, like,
I support
that's a whole other stuff.
prison yeah.
Yeah, fuck off, chip shit.
Yeah.
But, you look at
Prison
that,
reform, sorry.
then... So the TikTok nation has been writing the district attorneys. Like, they have not shut up. They have been at it. One of the Menendo brothers has come forward after many years and said, I cannot hold on to this anymore. I also am a survivor of Jose Menendez, and he raped me when I was 14 years old.
I knew it. I was
Yes.
like, man, this guy likes younger adult or teen boys,
Mm-hmm.
and
he was a pedophile.
Them.
Yes, so I think there's another one he raped too. So I think there's two of them that have come forward, and a letter that Eric wrote when he was a small child has resurfaced. So this all has come up as evidence. The district attorney over the weekend gave a conference and said, I am not saying that this is what's going to happen, but I'm not saying that it's not going to happen. But there is a hearing scheduled on November the 29th where they are reviewing the case information.
Oh.
The boy's attorney, to my understanding, I think that they just have one attorney this time, and she's kind of representing both of them, has said she anticipates that Lyle and Eric will be home before Christmas.
I hope so. Like, okay.
It gets better.
I'm 35.
It gets better.
I've been in prison my whole life. I was born in 89.
I know. Well, tomorrow there is a press conference where the DA is going to discuss things about what has come across his desk. So we might know as early as tomorrow.
It was a letter that...
Well, why say tomorrow? I'm sorry. You all are listening to this on the 16th. I say tomorrow because we're recording it today on the 15th. So on the 16th is when there's supposed to be
When you're listening, it'll
a
be
press
today.
conference. When you're listening, yes, tonight, sometime. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you know how bad I want to get on an airplane and fly to LA to be part of this. Like, this is
Listen.
a historical moment in the true crime
Listen.
world.
They deserve it. They deserve every moment of freedom. They deserve to live their life not in fear. They deserve to live their life clean of, you can't wash it away, but they were stuck in that house. They were stuck under that man. They deserve to enjoy some life without that man being hovered over them.
I will never say what they did was okay.
No.
Because it
But
wasn't.
they
It
served
wasn't.
their time for it. It should have been manslaughter and they
Absolutely.
should have already been out.
Oh, I agree. I agree. But in a sense, and I would never say this, you almost can't blame them for the choice that they made.
I don't. I really don't.
Like you can, I don't agree
What
with
they
it.
went through was
And
horrific and he was a monster. And I heard that they went through so many people. It almost turned into a judgment of character on Jose's part, their whole trial, and they couldn't find one person to utter a good word about Jose. Not
he
one.
didn't have any good qualities. He was a sadistic, awful human being.
Yeah.
I will say this is the good thing about him. I'll give him a good thing. The good thing about Jose, the fact that he came here to this country with only the clothes on his back, not knowing a lick of English, and getting into the position that he did,
Mm-hmm.
that's a very incredible thing. And I applaud him for that. That's great.
Yeah.
But overall, that doesn't make him a good person.
You've
He
literally
was a
invaded somebody personally.
sexual sadist.
Yeah. Like, if we compare Gypsy to this, yes, she was abused by her mom, but she wasn't sexually
No, she
abused.
wasn't.
There, she
I'm
wasn't
like,
She wasn't sodomized. It's apples and oranges, to be truthfully honest, because you are taking something. Granted, she did have stuff taken away from her. I will say that, but they had something totally different, so personal, so raw, taken away from them that they have to live with forever. To where now Gypsy stuff is done. She's out of prison and she gets to move on. Even though the get
I'm
out of prison,
trying
they
not
still
to
have it.
like. You can see me on my
I know.
Facebook because
I mean, we can't. I don't agree with anything she's done since she's been out. I don't agree with her actions, or because nothing should result to any of them dying. But like I said, they served their time. And like I said, Gypsy got out, and like it's
I gotta
what
say,
she did was
I
wrong, and
feel,
she was a victim at one point.
I feel bad for the district attorney that's covering the Menendez brothers right now, because
Mm-hmm.
I say that the one now, I don't feel bad for the ones in the past because they were straight up dicks. Granted, I get that they had a job that they had to do,
Oh, he was
but
an ass.
the one woman in the documentary, she is so butthurt about the whole hung jury thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's very stuck on that she lost. And it's, when she to this day still says that she doesn't believe these sexual abuse allegations. And I think it's shitty.
I,
I think it's really
I
shitty.
don't. Although Lyle states that he fooled the jury, I don't think that's the way he meant. And
I
if
don't
you
either.
watch the videos of the court hearings, the emotion was real. It was real.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely. It was real, but they they deserve to be out
I
at this
agree.
point. They've done their time. They've done more
Do
than
they
enough
deserve to
time. Just let
serve
them live.
time? Yes, 100%. The murdering of their parents was not okay. They could have talked to somebody. They could have told somebody, which I get. There was fear behind that. I understand it. But they did it. They served their time. I don't think they deserve to have a life sentence. I really don't. And I think they deserve to be out. So that's where I stand. And I do have to commend Ryan Murphy because, dear God, those people looked exactly like every person. It was insane.
Yeah, I love him. I'm really excited about the Ed Gein series he's getting ready to do.
I'm ready.
But yeah,
I'm
yeah.
ready.
So that's our story of the
Yeah.
Menendez brothers. So
We'll
hopefully
give you
we'll
guys
get to
updates.
follow. Yes, we'll give
Yeah.
updates. I'm sure, like again, my algorithm is nothing but the Menendez brothers, and that's literally all I've talked about at work today. Like, I was like, I gotta fly to LA. I need to fly to LA. I need to be there for this moment. And my friend Mary at Works was like, "You're not going to LA." Like, I'm like, I need to
Listen,
go.
I just want
I
to
need to
hug
be part
Eric
of the
so
movement.
much.
I would
He's
love to
such a
hug both
sweetie.
of them. And they're going to do big things. I know that they are.
I hope so.
So hey, Chip shit, sit back and take fucking notes. So,
A-
yeah.
Amen to that. That's where I can tell you she's not using her platform correctly. Let's
No, she's
let's be
pissed off that
honest.
they're taking the spotlight momentarily. So, I'm sure you have questions for the girls.
I have quite a few. I came prepared today.
Oh God, she came
I know.
prepared. Hopefully the girls aren't going to be snarky. They were snarky the other night on the spirit box. They were like, "Yeah, we don't want to talk right
I
now."
know. Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
All right, girls.
We're just gonna be cut and
What?
dry, even though we both have our stance on us believing that they were the boys sexually assaulted by their father.
Yes. Was well. They're like. They
Calm
said
down.
yep before I could even get it out. They were like yes. So was Eric and Lyle Menendez sexually abused by their father? Yes.
Yes, I heard it.
Was Kitty sexually abusive with her sons? Yes.
And we didn't mention that there were rumors
There
stating
was
that
an
there was.
allegation.
Yeah, she
There
actually
was
would
an
lay in bed with them
allegation.
and have them touch her. Um. Oh, there was another one I wanted to ask next. The what was I gonna say? Oh, the murders themselves. Was the motive out of fear?
Was the motive of killing Kitty Menendez and Jose Menendez out of fear? Yes, I heard a yes in there.
Okay. Some of it, like
Did the
whatever it was,
boys?
sounded like no, so I wasn't sure.
Well, I heard fear in there, and then I heard yes. So
Okay.
when we go back and play it, sometimes I catch things that I don't always hear in real time. Did I can't remember what I was going to ask now. Do you think that the boys deserve to be out? I heard yes.
I did hear the S
And
off
then
of.
I heard they just might. Did you hear
Oh
that? They
no.
just might.
Um. Did the boys write? Did the boys write each other? When? Oh, I'm sure they did. That's a silly
They
question.
did. They wrote each
Okay.
other. Yeah. No, you're good.
Um. Trying to think. The mistrial or during the trials, because I noticed Lyle was really good on the stand. Eric struggled a little bit more. Did Eric struggle out of nerves or was it emotion? Like he was just upset
Was
easily.
was did Eric struggle because he was nervous? I think so. Yes. What about fear? It could have been a mixture of both,
Oh yeah.
honestly. It shows. I heard it shows the fear.
Were they I'm sure they were upset, but like were they devastated when they got like the results of the trials and stuff? Why am I not thinking of the word? The sentencing.
Yeah. Were they upset when they got the sentencing? Yes, that was a really good. Yes.
Were they shocked? Were they expecting to win?
Yeah, were they expecting to win? Yes.
Were they at least
Yes.
relieved it wasn't the death penalty?
Yeah, were they relieved that it wasn't the death penalty? Did you hear that? I heard I was worried.
That
I
they were going to? Yeah, I would have been too.
would have been too, yeah.
Well, we'll just ask this: did he sexually molest other people than the boys?
Yeah, was he sexually abusive with other people other than his own sons? Yeah.
Mm,
Abusive. Did you hear that? Abusive.
wow. Was it specifically? Did he really sexually abuse somebody? And what?
Yes. What did he sexually abuse one of the Menendez brothers?
Menendo. I have to remember that.
Off and on. Did you hear that? Off and on.
Jesus. They were good-looking boys.
Well, yeah. So was Eric and Lyle.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did Kitty know what was going on?
Mm.
Yes, she did.
Were Kitty and
Did
Jose? Oh, go ahead.
did she really hate her sons? I can't make any of that out. Did she love them at all? I heard yeah.
Was she scared of them?
Yeah, was she scared of her son?
They portrayed her to be.
Not really. No. You
Oh,
hear
that
that?
was
No.
clear. That was super clear. Did Jose and Kitty plan on hurting the boys enough for them to be
Yeah,
scared?
were Jose and Kitty planning on killing their sons? I heard yeah.
Wow. I just don't. I didn't think that they would. I didn't get
I'm
that.
just curious, how does Jose feel knowing that his secret is out now?
Oh
I'm angry. Did you hear that?
God, I bet he is.
I bet he is sexual sadist
Are
fuck.
they gonna get out soon?
Oh, we can't ask that. That's legal.
Oh, fair, 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 fair.
We
Okay,
have to wait.
fine.
I love it. She tried to cheat the
I
system.
did. Don't come after me, girls.
I feel like they will.
I feel like
Yeah,
do.
they
Just
said that
opinions.
they think they will.
Just
They well,
opinions.
they said they feel like they should, and they said it may be soon.
Can we ask if they think they should get out?
I did remember earlier.
Oh, okay, and they did say
Yeah,
yes.
and they
That's
were
right.
like, yeah,
That's right. Okay.
yeah,
I think that's all I got.
yeah. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, ladies.
All right.
Well,
Ash, what do they need to do?
they need to go and follow us on YouTube. Give us a little subscribe. They need to find us on Spotify and give us a little follow on there. Listen to it however you see fit. And follow us on most social media platforms. And just know it's spooky season, people. So we're trying to plan a special.
We have a Halloween special.
We're trying to plan something a little spooky, but still give you a little murdery vibes. So just stay tuned for future episodes.
Yes. Bye.